On episode 110 of the Noob Sports Show, we sit down with Ashley Hart, the CEO and founder at She Plays, talking a little bit about her fantasy sports platform that's dedicated to women's sports.
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Newpel, and welcome to the Noob Sports Show. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Noob Sports Show. I'm your host, Ryan Newpel, here with you each and every time. Hey, thanks so much for taking a little time out of your day. I know that this podcast is growing. We are having a lot of fun with it. We're getting a lot of you giving a lot of great feedback. So we do appreciate you, all your input and your time with us here today. We have another very special guest with us today. Today I have my friend and co-Orlando resident Ashley Hart, CEO and founder of She Plays. Ashley, thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And I know, we met back, I don't know, was this 6 months ago, 9 months ago that we actually met? I don't know, before COVID, when we could actually meet. We actually met up and, Ashley's doing some cool things in the fantasy sports area. And so I'm excited to bring her on the show and just talk a little bit about what she's doing. So Ashley, how you holding up through this COVID time?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, you mentioned Orlando, and I've sadly had to come a little further north for the time being. So I miss our community. I mean, I miss going to soccer games and everything. It's been strange, but it's also, I'm getting to see family more than I ever have. And so trying to find the positives, which are sometimes hard, but trying to find them.
Yeah, I think we have to through these times. 2020 can be kind of looked at as like a negative year. It just seems like one thing after another keeps happening this year. And, I try to find the positives, and I think that's the sign of any good business person or whatever. Just, find the positives and move on and adjust from there.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned business, and that's why it's such a strange thing to say. Like, I mean, I wouldn't wish this on us ever again, but the business side has seen a lot of opportunity and a lot of growth, which was unexpected, and being able to just adjust quickly to what was happening. And I just feel like every person I talk with in the sports industry, at least on our side of it, has seen this crazy amount of attention get put on them. So
sure. So let's talk a little bit about your side of this. So She Plays, give us the 1,000-foot view of She Plays and what it is and maybe why it came about.
Yeah, thanks so much again for the opportunity. So She Plays is really just a way for fans to engage with their favorite women's sports leagues. We do that through fantasy sports. We're bringing those to the industry really for the first time, and having unique games in that. But we also have podcasts. We have a community that we're building, really trying to bring fans of soccer together with fans of basketball and all be in one place, because there hasn't really been, as a sports fan myself and a fan of the NWSL, WNBA, NPF, there hasn't been a place for us to all gather together before. So that's what we're building and bringing to women's sports.
That's really cool. I mean, it's everybody says you got to kind of find your niche, right? Find your niche in the large area that you're diving into, which is fantasy sports or just sports, social sports area, and so you finding your niche, really talking to the female audience is pretty cool. Where did that come about? Was it simply because, you saw a need that there wasn't something out here in this? Or, I mean, are you a sports person all your life? What got you into this field?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely played sports all growing up and intramurals and stuff like that in college. But just being a fan, I was transitioning away from a job in the nonprofit sector and really had the privilege to sit and think, okay, what do I want to do next? And just kind of kept coming back to sports and like, oh, could I try my hand in sports? And it was 2018. And so it was, we'd been having the debate about equal pay for the U.S. women's soccer team. And I was trying to find the Orlando Pride. I was up in North Carolina, but trying to find the Orlando Pride game. And it was still so hard to find. And I was like, Marta plays on this team. Alex Morgan plays on this team. Like, why is this still so hard to come by? in 2018. And so it just kind of started this thought process of, okay, what's not there in the women's world that's working and helping men's leagues grow? And, all the arguments against equal pay that are being made, okay, is there a way to like just shut those down? Can we infuse something into this that would take all of those arguments away that people have? And yeah, it just kind of came down to, there really are no fantasy sports for women's leagues. And I've been playing fantasy sports. I mean, I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Tobacco Road. We didn't have school when the ACC tournament was happening. We watched basketball in class. I mean, it was just like, it's been ingrained in me. And so, yeah, just kind of started to figure out, can we do this? Can we bring this to women's sports? We've seen what it's done to NFL. We've seen what it's done to MLB. Why not? If women are 40% of the athletes in this country, yet only get 4% of the sports media attention. And if this is one way to help that number grow, that's going to help sponsorships grow. That's going to help trickle down to better salary, better conditions, better everything for these incredible athletes and the best leagues in the world.
Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about the platform. So, because when we think of fantasy sports, obviously we're thinking of the FanDuels and the DraftKings and Monkey Knife Fights and some of these monsters in the space. So tell us a little bit about, the She Plays platform and how it either is similar or different to some of these that we know and love.
Yeah, so we do have a free platform. It's free to play. We don't have pay to play right now, or DFS is typically what it's known as now. No sports betting, but really trying to just have zero barrier to entry. So a lot of sports fans in the women's side have never played fantasy sports because again, it hasn't been there. So really trying to let them come on, test it out, see what we're doing. For the fans that have been playing in other leagues, come check out these athletes and like start to learn their names and see what they can do. But it's been really neat. We actually were working with a software company last year. Because of COVID, we're able to step back and make a change and really try to bring things in-house, which has been exciting and really brought on some just unique games, things that we can create up in one day and build and put out the next. So it's gotten a little bit of a different flair to your traditional pick a roster games. We have those, but also trying to bring in more of the stats and like a little bit of the nerdiness that comes with fantasy sports.
Amazing. So one question I have, the She Plays brand and the name, it obviously is tailored towards the women's sports leagues, right? So the question I have is your audience, your players, is it dedicated to all female players, or are you having male and female players playing the sports that are dedicated to the female sports? Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And thank you for asking, because I do feel like I want to make sure everyone knows that anyone can come play on our site, and we want anyone to come play on our site. We know that 84% of sports fans as a whole in this country do support women's sports. Like they do want to see them grow, and so I will say that when we started, we just had soccer, and that was a little bit more predominantly female. But bringing in WNBA games throughout the summer, we've really seen that gender gap, shrink to almost 50-50. So it's been really exciting to see how we are bringing in anyone and everyone. And again, like it's been so cool. So like from NWSL, we've had people from all over the world playing our games, which is really fun. And some of them are saying like we're the only site that they can come do that on. But we've seen a lot of soccer people say, okay, soccer's over for the Challenge Cup. Well, I've never watched basketball, but they've got games, so let's stick around and start playing. And so we've actually seen like that conversion already, which is the point. So yeah, it's been really neat to see gender-wise, almost half and half, but then also this sport affinity, like people are coming for whatever reason, for whatever their first love is, but then finding different sports to get into.
Sure. Amazing. Well, let's touch a little bit on the entrepreneurial side and because obviously being an entrepreneur myself and running a small business, it's not always rosy. It's not always easy, right? There's so many challenges. And I'd like to just tap into your brain about some of the the challenges you've run across as a small business owner in the fantasy sports space, and maybe touch on a few of those that you've run across. And who knows, maybe somebody listening would be able to help out with something you have going on. You never know when you get in these types of platforms and you start talking business, you just never know who's listening. So what kind of challenges have you seen from an entrepreneurial side with this?
Yeah, great question. I do think that myself not being in the tech space, I mean, I am not a developer. I've learned a bunch in the last 2 years of having She Plays, but it's still not my forte. And that's a little daunting coming in and saying, oh, I want to build a fantasy sports platform. And so it really is like finding people that you trust and building out that team, which takes time. And, I feel like we're on the right path to get ourselves set up to grow. The one thing that I think has been shocking and unique to anyone trying to do something in the women's sports side is just the lack of investment that we are working with. Like there are very few stats companies that do anything for statistics for women's sports, which in the fantasy sports world, is crucial. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost like we have to build 2 steps to even have our foot in the door. But thankfully we're willing, and other people, particularly women, are willing to do the work and come in. And certainly there are people that we have discussions with and are like, yes, we want to be a part of this. Like we've been waiting for someone to come do this. And so we have a bunch of people with excitement in the space, but it's just like, oh, this isn't here. We have to build this so that we can build really what we're wanting to bring to the space. So that's been a little, like I said, it was shocking, honestly. I mean, WNBA has been around for 20 years. NPF's been around for about that long. And why has there been so little attention? You could, fill in your own answer there, but the time's come to change and really like start investing. It's wise to invest in women. So that's kind of what we're hoping to prove and show. Yeah.
That's really cool. Doing, being in this industry, but then having a cause as well. And clearly your cause is to raise the awareness and awareness around these leagues that are being played. So that's amazing. So what's up and coming? What's the future look like for She Plays? Do you guys have anything, big that you're doing around the platform, and 2, just around your social community and everything? What's new? What's coming from you guys?
Yeah, we're really excited because this week we are launching a brand new podcast.
Cool.
So it's called Sports Break, and it's kind of come out of COVID of just missing, like me personally missing my game day family, like all the traditions that come with being in your community, going to a game. There's so much happening in life. I just miss like sitting down and talking about what's going on in the sports world. And so really just we're having conversations with successful people in all different avenues. Our first guest is Stephanie Allen. She's an actress out in LA, and cool. We chat about her rec basketball league that she started out in LA. I mean, it's unreal what they're doing. And so, this thread that ties us all together, this love for something greater than ourselves, and that can really unite a community, unite people, and just kind of be like a break in the day. We're rolling that out this week. So the Sports Break, we're really excited. And just as we're transitioning away from live sports, I mean, we'll have golf and tennis happening, and actually surfing will start in November, but WNBA and USL will end this month. We're really going to be able to, on the back end, really like dive in and start building things out, and hopefully have a big launch for hockey in January.
Well, that's cool. That's going to be fun. I mean, obviously, you don't have to convince me to listen to a podcast. I love podcasting. It's a great platform. And so I wish you the best of luck with that. We'll make sure to put the link to that in the show notes here. And if we can support that in any way, just let us know. But that's amazing. Another question I just had that just came up. So what's your take on esports and women in esports specifically? We hear a lot about esports. We know it's growing. We know it's a big area. Is that something that you're hoping to kind of, bring into what you're doing here?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we're actually going to interview a big time player for that new podcast, hopefully in the next month. But that was something that I was not familiar with 2 years ago. And it's been just really cool to dig into and know that, down in Orlando, they've got an arena that they built all for esports, and MLS has brought on an esports component. So I definitely think that it is extremely popular and just a unique offering. I know that Allie Long, who plays on the U.S. women's soccer team in Portland Thorns. No, she's now on OL Reign, excuse me. But she, over the break, she started playing World of Warcraft or something. I don't know, something, but set up a Twitch channel for herself, and it just kind of really took off. Like, people were just like, hey, I want to watch you play this game. So, I think it's definitely something that we are trying to brainstorm and see what we could do. I think it is a unique audience, and one that's very loyal. So I think it's definitely one of the avenues that's rising. Probably that and sports betting are probably the two hottest trends on that side of the sports industry.
Any plans to get into the sports betting industry? That's another question for you. Is it something that She Plays has on their long-term game plan, or not really a space that you want to jump into?
Yeah, I would say not so much right now. I go back and forth on that. Even just trying to know what we have to do on our side to keep things within the regulations. And we're not even DFS, but DFS itself has so many regulations tied to it. I think that there's a lack, like it should be a part of that. Women's sports should definitely be all up in there. It was crazy. The first time ever soccer, NWSL, had odds in Vegas this year. First time in 9 years.
Wow.
I know. That's so, someone's definitely missing the boat there.
For sure. Well, Ashley, I won't keep you much longer. I really just appreciate all the time you're giving us here, and we try to keep these, 20 minutes or so we don't go too overboard with it. But, any last words, I guess, for the audience? Anything you want to say to anyone or need from anyone that's listening here today? Any last words from you?
No, and again, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I just love getting to come chat about anything and the opportunity to tell. We're in a funding round, so we definitely are looking for partners who are tied to the same mission we are of giving women their due. Certainly, would love any connections there, and anyone in the space that I just feel like we're bringing something unique to the table, and something that we've seen proven over the last few months and few years, that sponsors on board. It's a loyal audience. So we really would love partners to bring this to life and to bring this into the space. And hopefully 2021, we'll be able to all be back together again, and we'll resume our watch parties. We love having our watch parties in Orlando. And but yeah, just thanks again for the time, and anyone who loves sports and wants to chat about them, hit me up. We'll put my email in if you want to.
Tell us how they're going to chat with you. Is there a way to get a hold of you, or even just get take more look at She Plays? Give us some links that we can put in the show notes that may be good for people.
Yeah, so she-plays.com is our website. We're at She Plays Pro on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff, LinkedIn. We'll be putting our new podcast up on YouTube as well. So definitely check that out. You can email me, Ashley at she-plays.com. And I'd love to chat. This is one of the best parts of doing this and being in this industry, is just the connections you make. So Ryan, I am really grateful to be on.
Absolutely. Anytime, Ashley. And this was Ashley Hart, the CEO, founder of She Plays. I thank you for your time, Ashley, for sure. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you got a little something out of that. And, Ashley's a great person. So if you need anything, get a hold of her, or if you need anything from me as well, let me know as well. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe, Ashley. Take care, and have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Noob Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at noobsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's knupsports.com.